Hey there! So, if you're diving into procurement or supply chain, you've almost definitely heard the name Kraljic Matrix pop up. But what is it really? Well, today we're going to break it down. We'll show you why this simple little grid is one of the most powerful tools out there for anyone whose job it is to buy things. All right, let's kick things off by introducing the Kraljic Matrix. We're going to look at what the strategic tool for procurement is all about. Okay, so at its heart, the Kraljic Matrix is basically a sorting tool. I mean, think about it. Your company buys thousands of different things, right? How on earth do you decide which ones need your full attention? Well, this matrix helps you do exactly that. It sorts everything you buy based on two really simple but critical dimensions: profit impact and supply risk. So why is this framework so crucial for both students and professionals to get a handle on? Well, it's because once you've sorted all your items into these categories, you can stop treating everything the same. And that's a game changer. This is what helps a company go from just, buying stuff to making really smart, strategic decisions that can save money and protect you from all those crazy supply chain shocks. It's basically a roadmap to smarter sourcing. All right, let's get into the matrix framework itself and start building out these two key dimensions. It sounds complicated, but trust me, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, first step, we've got the vertical axis. This one is all about profit impact, ranging from low to high. Just think of it as, how much does this thing really matter to our bottom line? For a car company, an engine, well, that has a super high profit impact, right? But the paper towels for the break room, not so much. It's all about separating the truly critical stuff from the less critical stuff. Then you've got the horizontal axis, which is all about supply risk, again, from low to high. This is pretty much what it sounds like. How hard is it to get this item? High supply risk could mean there's literally only one supplier on the planet who makes it. Super risky. Low risk, that means you could probably find 10 different suppliers before you finish your morning coffee. It's all about how vulnerable you are. So now we get to the four purchasing categories. When you put those two axes together, bam, you get four quadrants. And this is where the real strategy comes into play, because each quadrant needs a totally different approach. Let's explore each one in detail. All right, first up, we have our non-critical items. These guys live in the land of low profit impact and low supply risk. Just like the name says, they're not critical. You need them, for sure, but they're not going to make or break your company. So what are we talking about here? Think about all that everyday stuff. Office supplies like pens and paper, cleaning materials, basic maintenance stuff. They're super easy to find, and there are tons of suppliers out there who would love to sell them to you. So for these kinds of items, your strategy is simple. Simplify and make it efficient. You're not going to waste your top negotiators' time on this stuff. The whole goal is to spend as little time and energy as possible buying them. We're talking about automating orders, standardizing what you buy, basically making the whole process as smooth and hands-off as you can. Okay, now let's talk about leverage items. These have a high profit impact but a low supply risk. So they're really important to your bottom line, but thankfully they're pretty easy to get. And that combination, high importance, low risk, that's where you, the buyer, have all the power. It's a great spot to be in. Examples here could be things like packaging materials, maybe some standard components you use a ton of, or any other product that's widely available. The key is lots of suppliers can make them, and that creates some serious competition for your business. So the strategy here is pretty clear, right? You negotiate aggressively. You use that leverage. This means things like competitive bidding, where you make suppliers fight for your business. You're always pushing for the best price and the best quality, constantly checking the market to make sure you're getting an amazing deal. All right, now for a really tricky category: bottleneck items. These have a low profit impact, but a high supply risk. Now, this is a dangerous combination. It creates a bottleneck because even though the item might not cost a lot, if you can't get it, your whole operation could grind to a halt. Scary stuff. What kind of things are we talking about? Well, imagine a really specific, rare spare part for a crucial piece of equipment, or maybe a specialized material that only one or two companies in the world can make. The supply market is just tiny, and that makes you really, really vulnerable. So your strategy here is all about defense. You're not trying to save a few bucks, you're just trying to secure your supply. The main goal is to reduce that risk and make sure you can get what you need. That might mean finding alternative sources, even if they cost more, or just making sure your relationship with your current supplier is rock solid. And finally, we get to the big one: strategic items. These are the most critical of all. They sit in that top right quadrant of high profit impact and high supply risk. This is where your best people should be spending their time. We're talking about the items that are absolutely essential to your company's success. This could be your core raw materials, maybe a key ingredient that makes your product special, or an essential component that nobody else has. These are the things that give you your competitive advantage. So, the strategy here is all about building long-term partnerships. You don't just want a supplier, you need a true partner you can collaborate closely with. We're talking about working together for mutual value, sharing plans, and maybe even developing new things together. This is a deep, strategic relationship. Okay, so let's put it all together. We've gone through each box, so let's do a quick summary of the 4 strategies. So, to wrap it all up in a neat little bow, for your non-critical stuff, you want to ensure efficiency. For your leverage items, it's all about maximizing that bargaining power. When it comes to bottleneck items, your number one job is to secure that supply. And finally, for your strategic items, you have to build strong partnerships. See? A different game plan for each category. Understanding these categories is what allows organizations to minimize risk, strengthen their supplier relationships, and just plain make smarter procurement decisions. It's not just some theory, it's a real-world tool that makes a huge difference. So now that you understand the framework, here's a question for you to chew on. Which category of items do you think is the most challenging to manage, and why? Is it the high-stakes strategic stuff or those sneaky bottleneck items? Give it some thought. Thanks so much for watching.